Welcome to the hashtag TV Geek podcast. It's Michelle. I'm alone for this evening. I just wanted to kind of jump on and say something about Luke Perry. We're going to record a episode this week with all three of us where we're going to talk about some of our favorite actors and actresses that maybe have passed on, before their time, that meant something to us. And I was really sad when I read the news today about Luke Perry. I had hoped that, he would pull through. And it's weird because, I'm in my late 30s. So anyone who is, between the age of 30 and 50 probably watched, Beverly Hills 90210 and remembers him as Dylan McKay. And, there's a whole younger generation now that remembers him as Fred Andrews, Archie's dad on Riverdale. And, it's funny because it's, for some people, the Dylan McKay character was, 90210 was just such a special show to begin with. It really created the teen soap drama, primetime soap drama. That's not a thing that ever really existed before then. Aaron Spelling and Darren Star created this idea. They took these other shows and they were like, hey, we could have a success if we made one about teenagers, and they were right. And for a lot of people, that character of Dylan McKay was, their first crush. He was the guy that, other guys wanted to be cool, they wanted to be like Dylan, and girls wanted to date somebody like Dylan. And, maybe he was, your sexual awakening as a teenager, maybe that was what that character did for you. But for so many people, we all just really loved that character of Dylan. Everybody remembers, Brenda going to the window and seeing him working on the car and him turning around and looking up at her. And that love triangle between Brenda, Kelly, and Dylan, it was so iconic that summer. Brenda's in France and, Kelly and Dylan just get closer and closer. And, it catapulted this sort of triangle that lasted for several seasons on the show, and it was so huge. And and then of course after Shannon Doherty left as Brenda, then it kind of shifted to Kelly, Dylan, and Brandon. And Luke had left the show for a while, but he did make an appearance at the very end when it went off the air. And for people who watch that show, we're all older now, and I think we have this sort of fond memory of it. It reminds us of a time in our lives where things were easier, simpler, where the most, important thing was making sure you were at home Wednesday at 8:00 so you could see it, or, just talking with your friends about, Team Brenda or Team Kelly. And, I think we all have like a nostalgic feeling about that. It was a simpler time. It was a fun time. It was, we all had posters on our wall. And, even after that sort of ends, you sort of hold on to it. It's a piece of, it's a piece of your childhood, a piece of your life. And that's what a lot of entertainment is, and what a lot of entertainment does for people. Sometimes when celebrities pass away and people, post things on social media, or they say things like, oh, I'm really sad. There's always going to be those people who are like, it's not like this person. Like, what are you sad about? This doesn't make any sense. Or they sort of make fun of the reaction. And I just want to say, if you're sad, it's totally okay to be sad. The reason that people are actors and actresses or singers or performers in general is because they have something in them and they want to share that gift and that talent with other people, and they want to perform for you. They want to see people smile or laugh or cry, or just know that in some way what they did touched other people. They want to make entertainment to entertain you in some way. And so if you carry them with you, if you remember them that way and you feel sad when they're gone, I think that's the best way to sort of remember and honor someone who is a performer, who is an artist. They're creating an art because they want other people to see it and they want other people to feel it. And, it's totally natural and totally normal to feel sad about it. Yeah, no, you don't know them. They're not like someone who comes over to your house on Saturday night for dinner, but you do know them. Dylan McKay, Fred Andrews. So in a sense, you feel like Luke Perry. Luke Luke Perry gave an interview a few years ago when they asked him about Dylan, and he basically said, Dylan McKay is part of me. He always will be. So yeah, you do know him a little bit. You know some part of him, and it's sad that that person is gone, and then that you feel like you'll never be able to touch on that again or see that again. And it's perfectly natural to be sad about it. There's also something I think to be said in terms of celebrity when somebody famous passes away. There's always this sort of standard outpouring of support from the community, the Hollywood community, the entertainment community. And I feel like there's a distinct difference. You can always kind of tell the really good people in Hollywood, because some people will pass on and the reaction is like, oh, it talks about their body of work and, really highlights that kind of stuff. And I feel like it's not super often that you read posts from people and they say things like, my friend, or, your kind soul, or your friendship, you're genuine. All of the people who have sort of reacted to Luke's passing have used those kind of words, this kindness and generosity, saying that he was fun and he was, endearing, that he was nice to the crew and the cast and fans. And, and I know a few people who have interacted with him and met him, and they all say really wonderful things about him. He was really nice. He was, just like a regular guy. And, I think reading that kind of stuff about people is nice as well, just to know that this is a person who was really loved. And so you can feel good about the fact that you're a fan, knowing that they weren't just someone who entertained you, but they were also like a good person, and, that people really miss them. I think, when you're younger, you think of someone like that as, their celebrity, their, someone you have a crush on or whatever. But as you get older, I think for us, those of us who are fans of the show, and we're all older now, we have kids and spouses, and we've all experienced loss in some way. And I think for us, like I've sat here thinking about his son and his daughter all day, and I know what that feels like to lose my dad. And I'm just thinking about them, and I know what they're going through, and his fiance, and, all his friends. And I think you sort of look at it that way. You're like, wow, this is really sad, because I know all these people that, what they're feeling, and they not only have to feel this thing, but they have to feel it in public. They have to make sure that they notify all the important people before, the vultures at TMZ posted on the internet. That's got to be really hard. It's a hard thing to deal with to begin with. And then now you have to, share it with the world. And I know, for some people, it's hard enough to share it with the people who are closest to you, let alone share it with strangers. So I think, the most important thing is that we can all sort of mourn in our own way and, post our nice sentiments, but, also kind of keep in mind that, he has kids and friends and family that are going to read it. So just be kind and, and give them privacy. And, if you live near his family or in the area or whatever, try not to bombard them or, things like that. But yeah, I mean, for me, Luke Perry, and I'll talk about it a little bit more on the episode this week, but, he's like my first love, he was like my first big crush. I had this giant poster of him in my bedroom that hung on the wall for, decades. And yeah, I mean, Dylan McKay, he was so, he was so sexy and so cool. And, he just, he was like everyone's dream man. And, I watched a lot of Luke's stuff after 90210, and I remember reading that, the CW was making this Riverdale show, and I was like, oh, what's this about? And then as soon as I saw he was cast, I was like, I have to watch this. And he was the main reason that I watched it, besides, I had read Archie comics as a kid, so I had a slight interest, but I was on board the second I knew that he was going to be in it. And, Fred was one of my favorite characters on the show. I did stop watching after a little while because, the story's not that great. And I'm very interested to see how they sort of handle this on the show. I hope that they handle it well. And if they do some kind of like tribute episode, I'll definitely tune in and watch it. But yeah, I mean, it's just really sad. And he seemed like a really kind, beautiful person. And, you just never know. And 52 years old is really young. And you just never know. So to everybody who is really sad, who's feeling upset about it, I'm with you. I'm right there. And like I said, we're going to be recording an episode later this week, talking about some of our other favorite actors and actresses that have sort of left us too soon. So stay tuned for that. And everyone try to watch your favorite episode of 90210, or, remember Luke in the best way. Bye.